When a mysterious alien meteorite crashes on Earth, everyone who comes into contact with it gains the ability to see the future. They all see the same terrifying vision. In just a few days, the entire planet will be destroyed in a nuclear war, leaving no survivors. Now the question is, can they change this future with the help of the meteorite, or can they find a way to escape the impending doom? Let's start from the beginning. Several American agents are summoned by an elderly woman. She is deeply worried about her husband, who keeps repeating that the Earth will be destroyed in a few days, leaving no one alive. The agents initially think he must be suffering from a mental illness and suggest admitting him to a hospital. However, the old woman insists that something unusual is happening. She explains that the previous night, a strange meteorite fell nearby. Her husband, who had been blind since birth, went to investigate and touch the meteorite. Miraculously, his sight was restored instantly. But ever since that moment, he has been continuously warning that the world is about to end soon. The agents are skeptical, but intrigued by the old woman's story. Could this meteorite hold the key to preventing the impending nuclear disaster? After hearing the old woman's story, the lead agent, Julius, and his team rush to the location of the meteorite. However, when they arrive, they find that it is missing. Someone has taken it. Realizing the importance and potential power of the meteorite, Julius knows they must find it quickly, no matter what. The story then flashes back to the day before. A mechanic named David is shown sitting at his wife's grave, mourning her loss. From there, David heads back to the garage where he works. Unfortunately, his boss fires him due to his recent lack of focus and poor performance. David pleads with his boss, explaining that his financial situation is dire, and he hasn't been able to pay his daughter's college fees for months. Desperate, he begs to keep his job, but his boss's decision is final. Heartbroken, David leaves the garage. On his way out, David runs into Zach, an ex-Army soldier who has come to the garage looking for work. Despite his own troubles, David wishes Zach the best of luck and then walks away, feeling the weight of his problems even more heavily. As evening falls, Zach is having a drink in a bar. Coincidentally, David is also there drinking to drown his sorrows. A news segment about the escalating war plays on the bar's TV. This prompts a man to start speaking poorly about the military. Being an ex-Army soldier, Zach stands up to defend his comrades, leading to a heated argument. The confrontation escalates into a physical fight, and David, feeling a sense of camaraderie and also wanting to vent his frustrations, jumps in to support Zach. During the brawl, Zach's prosthetic leg comes off, revealing to everyone that he lost his leg in the war. Realizing they have been fighting an injured war veteran, the other patrons feel guilty and back off. The fight ends, and David helps the injured Zach out of the bar and takes him to his home before heading back to his own place. At home, David's daughter Annie is waiting for him. She tearfully tells him that she has been expelled from college because they haven't paid her tuition for the last 2 months. This news is a heavy blow for David, especially since he has just lost his job. Feeling overwhelmed, he decides to go for a drive to clear his mind. While driving, a bright light suddenly illuminates the sky ahead. David watches in shock as a meteorite crashes down, causing his car to swerve and flip over. Despite his injuries, David manages to crawl out of the wreckage. Determined to find out what just happened, he limps toward the crash site. As he gets closer, he sees something incredibly strange and otherworldly at the impact site. The nature of what David sees remains a mystery for now, but it's clear that his encounter with the meteorite will change everything. By morning, Annie was extremely worried about her father, David, who hadn't returned home since the previous night. She hurriedly visited his garage and other familiar places, but no one knew where he was. While driving back, she spotted her father's wrecked car on the roadside. Panic-stricken, she rushed to the car and checked it, but David was nowhere to be found. Desperate, she returned to her car to call the police. Just then, she saw David standing in front of her, looking severely injured. Annie quickly took David to the hospital. After he was admitted, the doctors discovered something strange and shocking. Annie explained that David had previously donated one of his kidneys to his wife, who had since passed away, leaving him with only one kidney. The hospital records confirmed this. However, the doctors now found that David had both kidneys intact. Annie was astounded and couldn't understand how this could have happened. After David was discharged, Annie brought him home. He sat alone, trying to make sense of the previous night's events. He remembered that after his car crash, he had seen the alien meteorite in front of him. Injured, he had stumbled towards the meteorite and then lost consciousness. As he lay there, he recalled seeing strange tentacles emerging from the meteorite and entering his limbs. This eerie encounter seemed to have inexplicably healed him and restored his lost kidney. That night, David has a vivid glimpse of the future. A nuclear war is imminent, set to devastate everything in just a few days. Determined to save himself and his daughter, Annie, he realizes he must act quickly. He recalls that the old man at the beginning of the story had seen the same visions after touching the meteorite, confirming its extraordinary properties. Early the next morning, David decides to retrieve the meteorite and bring it home. He believes that with the meteorite's power, he can build a shelter strong enough to withstand the nuclear war he has seen in his visions. On his way, he picks up Zach, who agrees to help him. While they are moving the meteorite, Zach touches it and, like David, is exposed to its strange energy. Back at David's house, he begins constructing the shelter using the meteorite. This explains why the agents couldn't find the meteorite initially. David had already taken it. Meanwhile, as night falls, Zach experiences intense pain in his amputated leg. To his astonishment, he realizes his leg is starting to regenerate. The meteorite's effect, which had restored David's kidney and given the old man vision, is now healing Zach's leg. By morning, the pain in Zach's leg becomes unbearable. Desperate for help, he heads to David's house, where he finds David still hard at work on the shelter. Zach shares the incredible news about his leg's regeneration. Zach, puzzled and curious about the strange object and the rapid healing of his leg, asks David what the meteorite is and why it has such incredible effects. David helps Zach, and soon Annie joins them. David quickly explains the meteorite's origins, telling them it came from an alien planet with the power to heal any ailment and provide glimpses of the future. He then brings Zach closer to the meteorite and encourages him to touch it again. This accelerates the healing of Zach's leg. Once Zach's leg is almost fully healed, David takes both Zach and Ani to his makeshift lab. He explains that he's trying to create a protective device that could keep them safe during the impending nuclear war. However, they need a lot of expensive materials to complete it, and none of them have the money to buy what they need. Desperate, David heads to a nearby junkyard, hoping to find old parts. When he realizes he can't afford even the scrap materials, he devises a risky plan. That night, David invites his former garage owner to drink with him. He makes the garage owner drink heavily until he passes out. Taking advantage of the situation, David steals most of the necessary items from the garage and transports them to his lab using a big cement truck. Back at the lab, David and Zach begin working on the device with renewed determination. At the spot where the meteorite crashed, agents discovered David's wrecked car nearby. They were surprised to find that whoever had been injured in the accident had miraculously recovered within a day. Not only that, but the person's missing kidney had also mysteriously returned. Agent Julius quickly deduced that David must have been the one who took the meteorite from the crash site. With this suspicion in mind, the agents hurried to David's house. Outside, they found Annie preparing to burn some old clothes. She ushered them inside, where they found David as well. They questioned David about the meteorite, but he adamantly denied having seen any alien object. Agent Julius informed David that an elderly man had regained his eyesight after encountering the meteorite, and David's missing kidney had somehow reappeared, suggesting a connection. David tried to explain that he might have stumbled upon the meteorite while injured, but by the time he had regained consciousness, it had vanished. The agents conducted a thorough search of David's house and garage, but found nothing. Unbeknownst to them, David had already moved the meteorite to his nearby lab, a short distance away. Over the next few days, the agents kept a close watch on David, suspicious of his involvement with the meteorite. David, aware of their scrutiny, avoided going to his lab during this time. One day, Annie suggests to David that they should give the meteorite to the agents. She argues that they can't keep it hidden forever. David disagrees, insisting they need the meteorite to escape the impending nuclear war. However, the following day, agents arrest David and Ani. They had discovered that Zach's leg had also miraculously healed, and they had seen him with David's daughter. The agents interrogate them, demanding to know where David has hidden the meteorite. Meanwhile, the garage owner learns that David had stolen items from his yard while he was unconscious. Reviewing CCTV footage, he identifies David taking the stolen goods to his lab. The garage owner rushes to David's lab and discovers a massive device built from the stolen items. Concerned, he contacts the police to report the theft. David arrives at the lab and confronts the garage owner, trying to prevent him from involving the police. A heated altercation ensues, and tragically, during the struggle, the garage owner is accidentally killed when he falls and hits his head. Feeling immense sorrow and regret over the accidental death at his lab, David retreats into the bunker he built. Inside, he lies down, surrounded by the solemn silence of his makeshift refuge. The meteorite, hidden nearby, holds the potential for escape from the impending nuclear war that threatens the world outside. As the agents interrogate Zach and Annie at home about the whereabouts of the meteorite, both remain steadfast in silence, refusing to divulge divulge any information. Meanwhile, David returns home and takes swift action to distract the agents. He sets fire to some old clothes outside, creating a diversion. When Agent Julius investigates alone, David seizes the opportunity, confronting him at gunpoint. With only hours left before the nuclear war is set to begin, David forces Julius to cooperate and escapes with Zach and the others. However, Julius anticipates David's next move. He deliberately shoots Annie, knowing David will seek the meteorite to heal her. True to Julius's prediction, David rushes Annie to his lab and places her near the meteorite. As David tends to Annie, the agents arrive at the lab. Fortunately, Annie is healed by the meteorite's mysterious powers before David can be apprehended. In the chaos that ensues, an agent mistakenly shoots David. Julius reprimands his team for the unnecessary escalation, insisting they should have captured David instead. But tensions escalate further as Zach retaliates, engaging in a firefight with the agents. In the exchange of gunfire, Zach sustains multiple injuries but manages to neutralize many agents. Amidst the chaos, only Julius remains, facing the consequences of the chaotic and tragic confrontation. As the nuclear war erupts with a devastating explosion in the distance, Julius, deeply troubled and thinking of his own family's safety, retreats from the chaotic scene. Meanwhile, inside the bunker, David, injured from the earlier altercation, directs Zach and Annie into the protective confines of the meteorite machine. He explains that they must stay inside for safety, protected from the nuclear fallout, but he cannot join them because someone needs to activate the machine from the outside. After ensuring Zach and Annie are secured inside, David seals the machine from the outside. He feels a sense of relief knowing he has saved his daughter from the destruction outside. Inside the machine, Zach and Annie discover that the meteorite has completely enveloped the interior, gradually filling it with a strange liquid. They become immersed in this liquid, entering a state of cryosleep. Outside, the world succumbs to nuclear devastation, with explosions wiping out civilization. Centuries pass in silence and stillness until one day, the hatch of the machine opens. Zach and Annie awaken to find a vastly changed world outside, one where they appear to be the last remaining humans. Amidst the ruins of the old world, they realize they have the opportunity to start a new journey. With the Earth transformed and humanity seemingly extinguished, Zach and Annie stand as the last hope for the future. And with this, the movie comes to an end. Thanks for tuning in, guys.